How important is physical activity in reducing overall workplace stress?
I think it's super important. Now, when I say that, it doesn't have to mean that you're doing high intensity exercise 7 days a week for an hour to 2 hours straight. I mean, when I think about movement, I mean, it can be something with yoga, it's going for a walk. If you are actually in a high stress position right now, the best thing to do is actually something that's low intensity.
Hmm,
Um, because
interesting.
what happens is when you look at your cortisol levels, when you do high intensity activities, it actually raises your cortisol levels. And if you are actually in a state of overwhelm, your cortisol is depleted. So if your cortisol is actually already depleted, and then you're going in and you're trying to do long, hard workouts, you're actually just depleting your cortisol even more.
Go a little further on that. So then what
Yes.
happens? When I come into work the next day, how am I going to feel?
So when you think about your cortisol levels, cortisol level is your biggest stress hormone. And not only there, but it also feeds all of your other hormones, your estrogen, your progesterones. It feeds your thyroid hormones. So the whole hormonal balancing. So if your cortisol is depleted, you're going to feel more anxious. When the smallest thing comes at you, it's going to feel really, really big because you don't have a capacity or any wiggle room to take on anything else.
Super interesting. I'm sitting here 100% thinking about myself, and when I have a stressful day, that's when I want to go harder in the gym, or I want to run an extra mile. I want to go one more. For any of the Nick Bear fans of the show, I want to do a little bit extra, right? And it's interesting to hear you articulate that on those days when stress is high, to actually kind of do the opposite and maybe do more breath work, do more meditation, do more sauna work, sort of try to bring everything back down. But as I'm saying that, that makes sense, right? So I wear a Whoop band, so I know where stress levels are throughout the day. I get when you're hitting that peak. Um, I just have never talked about it out loud in a sense of that made a lot of sense. And I hope a lot of listeners that stop them in their tracks too.
Yeah, and there's somebody like if you're somebody, sometimes you're feeling that stress, running or doing those high intensity can actually be a form of stress relief for you.
Sure.
And
Sure.
especially if you're used to it, it's something your body's accustomed to. But going that extra effort, just really it's about being aware and listening to your body. Because there's certain times if you're already stressed and overwhelmed and you haven't been doing exercise, especially, that's going to probably put an overload on you. So it's where are you at right now within your body and what can your body take in there?
Yeah. Again, I think it comes back to just being mindful and self auditing.
It is,
And I think
absolutely.
we struggle with that as individuals of saying, listen, here's how I feel. I'm going to feel my feelings and I'm going to talk to somebody about it. And then we're going to come up with a plan. And I think that's especially important. It might be easier for some to do that with a spouse, a friend, maybe over a drink or over dinner, to say, listen, man, this is how I've been feeling lately. And I just got to let somebody know about it. It's harder when you're feeling that way at a job that you might not have a great relationship with your boss. It's harder to open up and have that